All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Jermall Charlo has told Terence Crawford in his face that he will not be able to beat his brother within Jermell Charlo. And he also talks about how Terence Crawford is just not big enough in that he's too small as well for his brother. So, I'm going to break this down to y'all. Let's talk about it in this video. King Jr. got another video for y'all. Please share that you like and subscribe to the channel, and also share the video to get all the latest boxing news. And remember to hit that bell icon to always stay notified as soon as I release the news and it comes out. And I want to give a shout out to all my brand new subscribers that subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys for the support. I really rock with you guys for hearing what I gotta say, and I'm glad that you guys are following me on my journey. And we're going to continue to spread this great boxing news and get it out to all the fans in the world so they can hear the truth and stop spreading the lies, whatever the case may be. Sometimes I might be biased, sometimes I'm mostly be unbiased, but you know, I'm just giving my opinions and thought and what would the best thing for me to say, to get everybody to agree a little bit somewhat. But I'm getting off topic. Let's get into this. So Jermall Charlo says that Terence Crawford, at first if you guys want the source, he was interviewed on Brian Custer about Terence Crawford, talked about Terence Crawford and stuff like that. So you guys go check out the Brian Custer interview. So he says that Terence Crawford is not going to be able to beat his brother Jermell. And also he stated that Terence Crawford is too small. He gives Terence Crawford all the props in the world. He's a great fighter. I look up, he has a lot of respect for Terence Crawford. We know that him and Jermell don't have a lot of respect for each other, but he kind of rocks with Terence Crawford. He thinks Terence Crawford is one hell of a fighter. So if you guys want to go check out the interview, you guys go check it out as well. So I'm going to iterate this. I have to agree with Jermall Charlo. I don't think that Terence Crawford is going to be able to beat a guy like Jermell Charlo, because you guys got to remember, when you're going up in weight, you may get paid more money, but it's going to be very, very hard for you to fight different types of fighters from weight class. Now, you have to be a very, very special type of fighter, and Roy Jones Jr., as we know, was a very, very special type of fighter that went up to John Ruiz's weight, to heavyweight, to beat John Ruiz for the WBA championship, I believe. And he outschooled John Ruiz because of his sharpness, his punch placement, his footwork, and his hand speed. And John Ruiz was just not simply to be able to keep it up. And I like John Ruiz as a fighter. So, I feel like that Terence Crawford is going to make a statement if he is successful against Errol Spence Jr. and successful against Jermell Charlo. I think that will be bigger than the Hall of Fame. I think he will go down as one of the most special type of fighters to ever achieve all four major sanctioning belts in 3 different weight classes. He'll have one at 140, 147, and 154. That's if he can beat these guys, which, like I said before, I'm going to give Terence Crawford his just dues. He has all the intangibles to beat any type of fighter. But Terence Crawford, that, like I said before, that 140 Crawford has not shown up. That was more versatile, that was more fluid in an orthodox to southpaw stance at that time. And he was just more of a dangerous fighter at 140. I'm not saying that Terence Crawford can't get back to that status. I just think that Father Time is going to catch up with Terence Crawford. And I think Father Time has made his mark on Terence Crawford, not to a standpoint that he just simply can't do the stuff he does. It's starting to take his presence to Terence Crawford. So in my opinion, that's how I feel about it. So Jermell Charlo, also stated in the interview that Terence Crawford does have some tendencies and some jealousies of how the guys are getting paid more monies. And Terence Crawford, like I said before, yesterday, Terence Crawford also stated this a couple months ago. He stated that you can't believe with all these fans what they say, and Jermall Charlo believes that Terence Crawford he listens to the fans too much, and he says he gets into another side, which aka his feelings over how he can't do this, he can't do that. And you know, you can't listen to these fans sometimes because these fans don't know boxing. They just want to see another man lose at the end of the day. But back to the topic, I feel like Terence Crawford is too small because let's say he's successful against Errol Spence Jr., right? If he goes up to 54 and fights Jermell Charlo, that's going to be a completely different fight because Jermell Charlo is 6 foot tall. He's got very long arms. And you guys ever heard the term big man beats great little man? And I feel like when you got a skill fighter as big and at the size of Jermell Charlo with a very high ring IQ, very good boxing ability, very good footwork, great power, good speed, good lateral movement, all the intangibles in the world, right? And if Terence Crawford has all those abilities as well, usually the bigger fighter going to win. I'm not saying that small fighters can't do it because I'm a big fan of David Toole. I always admired David Toole because he was the great little man that beat it all the great big man. But when he ran into a guy within Lennox Lewis who has great, very great boxing ability, it's shown you that great big man with a lot of skill and potential can beat great little man. And he did that to David Toole. So I look at a scenario like this. Jermell Charlo, I'm not saying Jermell Charlo is Lennox Lewis or David Toole is Terence Crawford. I'm just using as an example because some of you guys will try to take that and run and say, oh, King Jr. ran with this narrow. So with that being said, you know, I feel like that Terence Crawford is not going to be able to beat Jermell Charlo. I'm not saying he can. And if he does, he definitely is a surefire damn Hall of Famer because he have 3 belts in 3 different divisions, all 4 major belts in 3 different divisions. But Jermell Charlo is very skilled, very highly skilled. I feel like that Terence Crawford is not going to be able to beat him because Terence Crawford, you know, as you get older, everybody gets hit in the sport of boxing, but I don't think Terence Crawford is going to be able to eat those punches like he used to be able to do. Even if Terence Crawford has good defense, even if he dodges the punches, and if he missed one punch against Jermell Charlo, it might change the whole game. And I feel like if he gets hit by Jermell Charlo, it's going to be a different story, just like he got hit by Edis Kavaliauskas. Because when Edis Kavaliauskas hit, Terence Crawford was grabbing him and stuff like that. The whole game plan changed. Like Mike Tyson said, everybody, when you get hit with a big punch, I forgot that quote, everybody has a game plan when they get hit. And so even though Terence Crawford beat Edis Kavaliauskas, he did have a game plan. But what's going to be his game plan for Jermell Charlo if he gets hit? So we know that Jermell Charlo has that dog in him as well, but Jermell Charlo don't activate that dog until he knows that he got you with a right precision punch that he know he already landed. Just like he landed on Brian Castano. When he landed that big left hook on Brian Castano, that's when Jermell Charlo goes for the kill. In my opinion, Terence Crawford goes for the kill when he knows he's down, when he knows he's losing, and we know when he gets tagged too much, that's when he goes for the kill early before championship round starts. And like the fight that worries me too much about Terence Crawford is the Jose Benavidez fight. Terence Crawford made that fight way too hard than it should be. And Terence Crawford should have got Jose Benavidez out because Jose Benavidez was on one leg. I can break it down to statistics, but I'm not going to get into that. I feel like he should have done better when he did fought Jose Benavidez. And I'm highly sure he should have done better when he fought Victor Postal. Now, Victor Postal was a tough outbreak for anybody, but I feel like that he should have put on a masterclass performance against Victor Postal. That's just my opinion on my scenario. But at the end of the day, do I agree with Jermall Charlo that Terence Crawford is too small? Absolutely, because Terence Crawford started his career at lightweight, and he blew up all the way up to 147. And then if you are successful against Errol Spence Jr., you're going to have even more bigger problems because Jermell Charlo, he's the guy that wants to win. He's not going to let you win. He's going to neutralize everything that you does best. And I think that Terence Crawford's not going to have a reach advantage. He's not going to have a mass advantage, which means his size, his mass, and stuff like that. Because Jermell Charlo is just the bigger. He's naturally bigger. He's naturally the stronger guy. And he has all the intangibles in the world to beat Terence Crawford as well. And Terence Crawford, you know, he's going to have hell to beat with Jermell Charlo because you're not going to be able to compute data with Jermell Charlo. You cannot be a slow starter with Jermell Charlo because Jermell Charlo ring IQ is very high and he's going to see the opening very, very quick. And that's if Jermell Charlo doesn't get in his emotional state where it could throw him fight off and Terence Crawford could win that fight. I'm not saying that could happen, but Terence Crawford can win if Jermell Charlo does feel aggression, does get in his emotions, because time from time he did it. He did it in the first Brian Castano fight. He regained his stuff, went back into the lab, put that emotion to the side, and knocked out Brian Castano in the second fight. But Terence Crawford, you know, in my opinion, he's a great fighter, but I just think 154 is going to be too much for him. But I have to agree. I think Terence Crawford is too small. But it would be a shocker because Terence Crawford would be a 5-division champion, three-time undisputed champion. He would definitely be one of the greatest fighters of all time century to achieve something that nobody has achieved before. And he, like he said before, it's going to be very, very hard for these upcoming fighters to get undisputed in 3 different weight classes. Now, the guy to do that is Jermall Ennis. Jermall Ennis could probably achieve undisputed in 3 different weight classes, but we have to see how Jermall Ennis been tested. I know Jermall Ennis is the goods, and he's going to be a very, very great fighter. But move alongside Jermall Ennis, I think Jermell Charlo is going to be a different story for him. But like Jermall Charlo says, he don't need to worry about his brother right now. He needs to worry about what's about to happen right now with Errol Spence Jr. Because Errol Spence Jr. could be that guy that can get undisputed in another weight class at 154 pounds. So he better not sleep on Errol Spence Jr. I don't know why he was talking about. First of all, if the fight's getting made, you have no business bringing up Jermell Charlo. And this is what Tarver has said earlier. I forgot my video. He says, Jermell Charlo better worry about Terence Crawford, Terence Crawford and stuff like that, and Errol Spence Jr. And I'm like, Tarver, what are you talking about? So it's just been a complete show where these Hall of Famers just discredit Errol Spence Jr. But if you guys haven't checked that video out, go check that video, my last video I did. But to end this on this note, I do think that Terence Crawford is too small for Jermell Charlo. I think Jermell Charlo knocks Terence Crawford out within 9 to 10 rounds. I think Terence Crawford athleticism wouldn't be the same because as you move up in weight, you do start to lose certain abilities that you had at the certain weight class. I do believe that once you proceed up in weight, you can take your abilities with you, but you're going to have to make adjustments in the lab to keep those same abilities because weight makes a difference. And what is that? 7 pounds that Terence Crawford would have to go up again. And I think that Terence Crawford athleticism with weight add on to his body and stuff that he's not comfortable at 154. He may be comfortable at 154 walking around that weight, but by him going up in weight, he will lose certain abilities. I do believe that his stamina will go down a little bit, go down drastically, because he's not going to be able to outbox Jermell Charlo because Jermell Charlo has the same arm reach as Terence Crawford. Even though Terence Crawford is the shorter man, he has the same arm reach as Jermell Charlo. But I do think that Terence Crawford is not going to be acclimated to that weight. I would like to see Terence Crawford, if he's successful against Errol Spence Jr., does get a tune-up fight at 154 to see how he looks at the weight. But if you just jump into the smoke, which in Jermell Charlo I do admire, it's not going to be the same, and you're not going to get the outcome that you think that you're going to get. So, with that being said, guys, it is what it is. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. This is your boy King Jr. I'm out of here. Peace.